Hello, hello, hello. You know who this is. This is your favorite commander-in-chief of the Iranian nation. And today we're going to be doing something that I've never done before, but I think I'm going to like it. We are going to be rating Canadian politicians. So let's get right into it right now. The first person we have here is R.B. Bennett. He was the prime minister during the Great Depression from the early 30s up until the mid 30s. Um, from what I know about him, first of all, he's conservative, and you know me, I love me some conservatives. That right there. But he was elected right in the midst of the Great Depression. Many people thought that the prime minister before, Mackenzie King, we're also going to rate him right here. He wasn't doing enough. But funny enough, R.B. Bennett would be thrown out and beaten by King, the person they thought wasn't doing enough. And then they well, but we change our mind. We don't think Bennett's doing enough either. So we'll go back to the person who we thought wasn't doing enough before. Y'all are crazy. But I think from what I've heard, I think he did try. He was pretty hands-on. He did a lot of initiatives. He tried to create a lot of initiatives to help with the Great Depression. I can't name a lot of them right now, but I know he did try to do Um, a lot of bonuses for farmers and things, but I will say I'm going to put him in okay because he did try. He's also very conservative, but he lost to somebody he shouldn't have lost to, and you just shouldn't do that. You can't do that. So, and also he created the CBC. He created that liberal lefty that death that rat trap CBC that left wing mouth job that he created. I know he probably didn't intend it to be that, but that's what it is now, and it's because of him he created it. So he's an okay. Maxime Bernier, I will also put him in okay. He's the leader of the People's Party of Canada. I voted for that party last election. I won't do so now. I'll go for the Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre. But I did vote for him during the in 2021 when the coronavirus, the lockdowns, the politicians were locking us down like Rikers Island and the Kingston Pen, and he was the only politician that had a chance of winning who was standing with us. Not even the conservative leader was standing with us, so he gets points. But I don't think the PPC is going anywhere. I don't think we're ever going to hear from the PPC in any serious way again. If Pierre Poilievre wins, which I think he will, and he screws up and he irritates the right, I think someone else is going to come up and try and challenge him. It's not going to be Maxime. And I think Maxime Bernier could have done a lot more to advertise the PPC, and he did a lot, but it just wasn't enough. So you haven't done anything. And also, he's against supply management. Supply management is where the government tries to control the supply of dairy. I don't agree with that, but supply management also prevents other dairy products from other countries from coming into Canada. And you know me, if we can make it ourselves, grow it ourselves, and extract it ourselves, we should buy it from our own country. So, and he doesn't seem to agree. He's too libertarian for me, y'all. He's too free market for me. So he's in okay. Um, Let me do this. Let me do her first. I'm gonna do her first. Kim Campbell is going in disgusting. Kim Campbell, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm putting her in disgusting. First of all, she was prime minister for like 3 minutes. She became prime minister about 2 months after I was born, and she was destroyed by the guy I'm going to review next. She only let's get some background, and I'm gonna be quick about this. Brian Mulroney was the prime minister before her in the 80s. By the time the 90s hit, he was so unpopular, a cow turd would probably get more seats than him. Very unpopular. And we'll talk about it when we get to him. He is right here somewhere. Yeah, somewhere here. I don't know right now. But anyway, there he is. But anyway, he was so unpopular, and the conservatives, just like how Trudeau resigned because he was so unpopular, and but the Liberals' mandate is not over yet, so the Liberals had to choose another leader who would become prime minister. And so at the time it was the Conservatives. Brian Mulroney resigned. Kim Campbell took his place, and she only ended up getting 2 seats, and she could have gotten 3 seats, but Maxime Bernier's father was an MP at the time, Gilles Bernier. He was an MP. He was accused of something he didn't even do. I'm not going to get too much into, political scandal. He was accused of something he ended up not being guilty of. But before he could have his say, she threw him out of the conservative caucus, and he had to run as an independent, and he ended up winning. So take that. And by the way, ever since she's been out of politics, she's been running her mouth about Trump and running her mouth about Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader, running her mouth about conservatives and, oh, this is not the conservative party I remember. Well, shut up. Your conservative party only ended up getting 2 bloody seats, you loser. Stop running your mouth. So not only is she a loser, but she's arrogant. So I can't stand her. So she's disgusting. Jean Chrétien, the one who whooped her, I'm putting him in that. And I'll tell you why. He was under his prime ministership, premiership, the economy was very good. But here's the thing. He made a lot of cuts to the economy and raised our taxes to the point where the government got a surplus. So people might say that that's good, but I don't think a surplus is good. I don't think a deficit is good. I believe in a balanced budget. If you have a surplus, give that money back to the people. But instead, he just kept racking up those surpluses, and he didn't bother to reinvest it in the economy. I mean, just keep racking up. I think that a surplus means you're overtaxing me. You're taking too much of my money. First of all, I think income tax is theft to begin with, but now you're really stealing from me. You're taking too much of my money. You're overcharging me, you're overtaxing me, and I don't appreciate that. Now, a lot of jobs were created when John Chrétien was there. The economy was, this is the 90s, the booming 90s. The hit me baby one more time, the Macarena, Mambo number 5. That was this, Backstreet Boys. That was the rockin' 90s, the internet.com, all that stuff. I think Jean Chrétien was just a credit to what he was. I'm not going to sit here and say he is the one that made the world so booming, but he was just lucky to be prime minister during that time. Also, I don't like the fact that he entered into the Kyoto Accords. I'm not going to get too much into that. It basically is some environmental thing, and I think it hurt our energy sector. And as a result, Canadians who are swimming in oil are paying like $6 a gallon for gas. So, and that puts you in that. And he also cut deeply into our military. No, Doug Ford is going into disgusting. I used to support Doug Ford, but not anymore. Ever since those coronavirus lockdowns, him and all the other politicians locked us down over a virus that kills only less than 1% of people who get it. And I used to support him. And there are things that he has done and things that he believes in that I also believe in. But that lockdown stuff puts you in disgusting. And also, I think he's weak. He's weak with Trump. He's weak. He says he does things and he doesn't end up doing it. This guy, Robert Borden, he was prime minister during, by the way, Doug Ford is the current premier of Ontario. You may have heard of him in the news. Robert Borden, prime minister of Canada during World War One. I don't know much about him, but what I do know is that when World War One was going on, Canada was a dominion of the United Kingdom, and if the United Kingdom went to war, we had to go to war too. And I don't believe in World War One. I don't think. Well, let's put it this way: I don't think Britain should have gone into World War One, and I don't think, and as a result, Canada shouldn't have had to go either. I'm not going to get into the reasons why. You can, if you're interested, look up the history of World War One in Britain. But I think Britain should have remained splendid isolation. Don't get involved in that continental nonsense. But they decided they want to get into it. And as a result, Canada had to go too. He created conscription. And as a result, many people were forced to go to war. I mean, certain conditions, like if you're a farmer, okay, but many people had to go to war and it divided the country. A lot of French Canadians who don't feel anything for Britain, they don't feel anything for France either. Even the, they feel they're Quebecer. They're like a different country. And they were forced to go and it just divided the country badly. So I don't know of any other things he did, but because of that, I'm putting him in nah. Yves-Francois Blanchet, the leader of the Bloc Québécois, which is a separatist. They want to separate. They either want to separate from Quebec from Canada, or they want Quebec to have a lot more power than any other country. Look, I'm not. I don't support than any other province. I don't support Quebec leaving, but if they want to leave, let them go. You shouldn't have people in your country who don't want to be there. But it seems like Quebec separatism is not really a top agenda thing in that party right now. I'm putting him in nah because he supported Justin the Tarface Mac Daddy Trudeau's government for far too long. He's now saying he's not going to do it, even though there's a new prime minister. He's still not going to prop up that liberal government. So fine, that's why I won't put you in disgusting. But you supported them for far too long. You're far too left wing for my liking. I like my wings. I like my wings coming from the right, not the left. So a bit too left wing for me. I do support what your stance on preserving Quebec culture and preserving the separation of church and state. That's what Quebec wants to do, and you want to preserve that. I respect that, but those other things, no. Man, I don't know who this is. He looks like a devil. He looks like a snarky. I don't know who this is. I'm putting him in disgusting just because of that face, and I don't know who he is. If someone can tell me who he is, I'll research him and I'll maybe he'll get a better rating. John Diefenbaker, Prime Minister from 1958 to 1962 or three or something like that. He ceased being Prime Minister around the time my mother was born. I don't know if she's gonna appreciate me saying that, but whatever. I've said it. What's done is done. Um, he created the Bill of Rights, which is good. He is the prime minister that actually opened up Canada to non-white immigrants. People say that was Pierre Trudeau. No, it was Diefenbaker who did that. It was Diefenbaker who did that. But he wasn't very good economically. The dollar suffered under his premiership, and he got rid of the Avro Arrow. Canada used to make fighter planes called the Avro Arrow. It was made by a company called Avro Canada, and he got rid of that. So I don't know, not enough imagination for my liking. I do like the Bill of Rights and opening it, so I'll put you in okay, but eh, yeah. Stephen Harper goes in amazing, and I'll tell you why. He was prime minister from 2006 up until 2015. Canada had the world's richest middle class. During the 2008 financial crisis, Canada was one of the only countries which was actually holding its head above the water. It was actually doing better economically than America. And that was Stephen Harper. For some reason, Canadians got the dumb idea of getting rid of him for this tar-faced Mac Daddy who I can't wait to rank him, and you probably know where I'm about to put his ass. But we had the world's richest middle class. We don't have that now. Prices were very good. No inflation. No recession. The economy was just good at the perfect position with Harper. I'm not saying he was perfect. I don't like he tried to bring in TPP, too much of free trade, and he was too close with China. But all that being said, I think he was I think he's the best prime minister Canada's ever had. Horgan, he locked down BC. He's going in disgusting. Any leader, well, you might not always go in disgusting, but you're not going to make it very high if you help to lock down the country. And that's what he did. And he's destroyed. I think he destroyed BC too. He tried to legalize hard drugs. I don't think you should go to jail for being addicted to drugs, but you need to get some help involuntarily. You can't just give people crack and say, "Go on, go use your crack." No, he's destroyed BC. He locked down the economy. He's in disgusting. Jason Kenney is going in nah. And you know something? Jason Kenney could have had a better ranking, but he locked down Alberta. He said he wouldn't bring in vaccine passes, and he did. He was good every other way, but that right there got you a nice, cozy spot in there. He was prime premier of Alberta from like 2015 up until recently. W.L. King, William Lyon Mackenzie King. He was prime minister during World War II. He was also prime minister during the 20s. Remember, he had been beaten by this guy because Canadians thought that King wasn't doing enough for the Great Depression. And then this guy screwed it up too, didn't do enough, and they brought back King. I mean, at least bring someone else back. But anyway, I think W.L. King was a good wartime leader. This time, World War II, I do support. I do support going after Mustache Boy, Hitler, those damn Nazis whooping their backsides. And Canada did whoop them too. Don't just think it was, in fact, Canada and Britain did a lot more in the beginning. America entered that war very late. It was only after Pearl Harbor. By then, Canada and Britain, Canada was still a part of Britain. I think that a little more power, but they still went to war when Britain did. They whooped Hitler. They helped to whoop it. Back then we had a strong military, and it's all thanks to Mackenzie King. Well, partly in that, but Mackenzie King is a good wartime leader. Um, Other than that, I know he's a liberal, so he's probably not going to be my cup of tea. Me and those libtards, but I'm going to put him. I'm going to put him. Where am I going to put you? I'm going to put you in great because you helped beat Mustache Boy and Mussolini. So I'll put you in great. I don't know of any crazy things you did, anything that I wouldn't like. Anyway, Laurier, Wilfrid Laurier. Um, I know I don't know much about what he did as prime minister, but I do know that after he was prime minister, he led the fight during those World War One years when Borden was forcing everybody to go to war and all this sort of stuff for Britain and for against Germany when we shouldn't have been doing it. We had nothing to do with it and all that. He said, "No, I'm against this. I'm against conscription." He said. He just says, "I'm against. We shouldn't be forcing people to go to wars." I know he did some controversial stuff with the Native Indian population. Um, I mean, all those people back in those days were racist. So really, being racist back then was like a sport. That was just part of life. I mean, so I'll put him in okay. I'll put him in okay. Jack Layton. He never became prime minister. He was the. Oh, by the way, I should say Laurier was prime minister at the turn of the century, the 1900s in Canada. Jack Layton was the leader of the NDP, Socialist Party. I'm not that right there, alarm bells. But he was very popular, and Jack Layton, I think, would have been a leader of the NDP today than the one the current leader is now. And we'll talk. He's Don't worry, he's on that list. He's there. He was very popular. He was very likable. Even I liked him. I mean, I wouldn't vote for him, but I liked him. I don't think I would have agreed with anything he said or did, but at the same time, he was very likable. So okay, just because I like him. John A. Amazing. He's the first prime minister. Yeah, he's controversial and all that sort of stuff. He's very controversial. Native Indians, racist. As I say, racism back in those days was like going to the beach. That was just a normal. Believing in racism today, believing in racism back then was like not believing in it today. It was just a part of life to think that for white people to think that people who were darker were inferior. I mean, it was the time. what you should be able to say, the reason why you differentiate McDonald from someone like Hitler, for example, I think if people like McDonald and Washington were around today, I think they would probably be thinking differently. But they were the people, but whereas Hitler, if he was today, would be the same bastard he was back then. So that's why I let when it comes to these historical people and there are things that race and slavery. Yeah, it was bad. It was evil. It should have never happened. But that was just how it was back then. And with that being said, he was the first prime minister. He created the national policy. If it wasn't for him, the national policy was tariffs. Tariffs. If we can't make it ourselves, grow it ourselves, or extract it ourselves, we're buying it from Canada. He built up the railway from sea to sea. He expanded the country. If it wasn't for him and his national policy, we'd be Americans today. So that's why he's an amazing. Elizabeth May, leader of the Greens, disgusting. She's crazy. I think she's a drunk. I mean, there's nothing. I'm a drunk sometimes, but she also props up Trudeau, and she is unapologetically propping up the Liberals with the two Greens that she's got in there. So she's in disgusting. Tom Mulcair, he was the leader of the NDP after Jack Layton. I'll put him in that. I mean, I don't hate the guy, but hey, he's a socialist. He's a socialist, and he hasn't really done anything that I mean, that I can think of that is too bad. He never became prime minister, but I'm putting him in there. Brian Mulroney, he was prime minister from 1984 to 1993. I'll be honest, my opinions on Brian Mulroney are not as harsh as the opinions of most Canadians. Most people think he's the devil. He has gone down as one of the most unpopular. I don't think he's that bad, and I'll tell you why. I don't agree with the free trade deal. I don't. And that's a big thing for me that he created with America. But he fixed Pierre Trudeau's mess, the first Trudeau, for the most part, privatized industries that should have been privatized. I don't think he should have done that with Petro-Canada, but whatever. And the GST, even though that's a very unpopular tax, I actually like it. I prefer sales taxes over income taxes. I prefer taxes where everybody contributes, from the bum to the aristocrat. When you buy something, you give a little to the government. Indirect taxes versus just taxing you because you make money. It's like the income tax is it is a punishment to success, and I'm against it. So, and I support the GST. I think he should have either lowered the income tax when he introduced the GST or gotten rid of it altogether, and that it wouldn't have been so controversial. I almost don't want to insult him by putting him in okay. I don't think he was the best. As I said, I don't like the free trade deal and everything. But you know what? I will put him in okay because of that trade deal. That trade deal with America, I think that hurt Canada. But I don't think he's as bad as other people. Pearson, I don't know much about. I know he helped create the UN. Um, I don't know much about you, Pearson. I know the airport's named after you, and you're a liberal, so I probably wouldn't like you. I'm gonna put you in. Nah. Pierre Trudeau's going in disgusting. I think that he is the reason why. I think he is this. He destroyed Canada. He destroyed Canada militarily. He destroyed Canada economically. He destroyed Canada socially. Uh, Next to his son, he is the second worst prime minister that Canada ever had. I don't like him. I don't appreciate. He was bad for the West with the National Energy Program. I think his intentions for the National Energy Program were good. He wanted to make Canada energy independent, which is good, but he did it. I actually think he destroyed the oil industry instead of making it independent. He destroyed it. So that's a bad thing. Um, this thing of bilingualism, look, most Canadians speak English. If you want to have what you should have done is what England does. The parts of Canada that are mostly French, like Quebec and New Brunswick, they can be regional. You have the regional language as French, but the rest, all this whole mate business, no, no, no. And as a result, nobody can be prime minister unless they speak English or French because nobody's going to want to vote for them. And that's most of the country. Most people in the country are not bilingual. They can either speak English or French. So you just leave it to a bunch of elitists. So that was bad. He's disgusting. Rob Ford, may he rest in peace. I'm gonna put him in great. The only reason I don't put him in amazing is Rob Ford really could have done more. I think he would have been a better premier of Ontario than his brother is, this one. But he ruined his life with crack. He ruined his life with crack, and as a result, he had to step back from being mayor of Toronto. He was on the verge of expanding our subway system so that traffic could be lightened and we could go more places. I mean, he loved the people. The average people loved Rob Ford. Black people, poor white people, you know, people of color. For some, even though people of color don't normally go to conservative politicians, but they loved him. Scarborough, they loved him. Tobic, they loved him. People in downtown didn't love him, but they're a bunch of elitist people who like the smell of their own farts. So who cares about them? He's in great. He could have been an amazing if he had just not been a crackhead or been a crack addict. I shouldn't say crackhead because he tried to get help and it killed him. I think that killed him, and along with cancer. And it's a tragedy. I don't know who this guy is. He looks like an asshole. Put him in disgusting. Tell me who he is. And Andrew Scheer. He's in okay. He was the conservative. And by the way, Rob Ford was mayor of Toronto from 2010 to 2014, I think. Andrew Scheer was conservative leader for. He was the one who was conservative leader when after Harper resigned, after Trudeau beat him, and he was elected to be the new conservative leader. And he didn't end up winning, but he did end up winning the popular vote, but he just didn't end up winning. Um, I think he was a bit rude with Rebel News when they tried to interview him. He wouldn't want to talk to them. He wouldn't, and that's a red flag for me. It's like you're trying to cozy up to the mainstream media. Uh, they don't like you, but you want to not give the alternative media a chance. Why? Because the others aren't. They don't like you. I think that was not good. I almost didn't vote for him, but I ended up voting for him and he lost. So he's an okay. Both these people, Jagmeet Singh and Trudeau, are going in disgusting. Jagmeet Singh has been propping up Trudeau forever. He is the worst leader the NDP has ever had. He's going to ruin that party. Maybe I should put him in amazing for ruining that party, but he's going to ruin that party. He's a loser. He's going to lose very badly, along with the Liberals, whenever that election comes. Propping up the Liberals. He said he wasn't going to do it after he promised he wasn't going to do it recently. We'll see if he sticks to that promise, but I don't think he will. He's arrogant. He's upstart. No. And of course, did you all, where did you all think I was going to put Trudeau? You've been hearing me bashing him. I've been bashing him through this whole video. Of course I was going to put him in disgusting. Do I need to say it? The worst, the worst, the worst, worst prime minister this country has ever had. The worst. I mean, the worst. Look at the economy. Look at the economy. And I hated him even from the beginning. I knew there was something about him. He the way he talks, his mannerism. We are people kind. We say people kind, not mankind. I couldn't stand the way he talks. And I knew he was going to be a terrible leader. And I was proven right. There's never been any good story coming out of Canada that has, anytime Canada is mentioned in international news, it's always bad news. Nothing good coming out. Nothing good coming out of Canada since Trudeau. He's the worst, 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 worst. Now I'm done with this video. Longer than I wanted, but there were so many people. And that's it. This is the